Jennifer.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4 o'clock. I'd like to call our meeting of August 26th to order for the Projects and Services Committee for the Amber Valley Transportation Authority. Would you all begin by rising and joining the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Roll call of members to establish quorum, please.
Yes, Director Branning.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Vice Chair Josie.
Here.
And then Chair Cutler.
Present.
You have a form.
Perfect attendance. The meeting is open to the public. Members of the audience may address the committee. Members of the audience may address the committee on items on the agenda. Items not on the agenda. Public comments should not exceed 3 minutes. Agendas have been published 72 hours in advance. No action may be taken on minutes raised that are not on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address us?
There are no attendees in the meeting and I cannot receive them.
Then the public comment, item 3 is now concluded. Item 4 is minutes of the June 24 meeting of the Projects and Services Committee. Is there a motion to approve? Are any questions? Seeing a motion, is there a second? Second. Motion's been made by Director Josie and seconded by Branning. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstain?
I'm gonna abstain, I wasn't there.
1 abstention. Any opposed? None. 401, 301. Item 5 is the cloud-based transit signal priority project award of an on-call task order number 3, for project design and engineering. Is there a staff report?
There is a presentation. Thank you, Chair. Dave Massa, our Capital Projects Manager, will be making the presentation with you today.
All right, take it away.
Good afternoon. Are any of you familiar with how TSP works? I don't want to bore you if you do.
That little clicker you gave me to get.
To get back,
Oh, sorry.
no, those don't work anymore, actually. That's very old technology. So I'll just go through the technologies. Transit signal priority, more commonly known as TSP, is at its basic level. The way that our buses communicate with the intersections to allow for a longer green light if the lights are green, or a shortened red light if the lights are red. In 2010, LAVTA implemented TSP as part of our initial BRT deployment on our Route 10 line. That technology, although at the time was basic and, like you said, the clicker type technology, it was the infrared emitters on our buses and receivers at the intersection. Those little things you see sticking up on top, that's what they communicate with. And they relied on the line of sight. Buses,
That's a BRT, you threw another one, I know,
I'm sorry, bus rapid transit.
oh.
With our rapid round, yes.
It's rapid.
Okay, I know rapid. Thank you.
I'm
Bus
sorry,
rapid.
bus rapid transit.
Thank you.
I should,
I just,
Spell out
before
all
you
my
keep going much
acronyms.
further, usually they're in a staff report to find, so.
yeah, sure. I apologize. I wrote this after my staff report.
Okay.
So buses would blindly request TSP at every intersection they encountered, and for the most part, intersections would grant it unless certain criteria was met, like bus bunching, buses were standing on top of each other. In 2018, LAVTA upgraded that technology to more modern GPS and schedule-based products, which allowed buses to request TSP based on as-needed basis. It would request that TSP based on schedule adherence rather than just all the time. The buses are running 5 minutes or behind, it will request from the intersection TSP. We currently have 67 intersections and 20 buses with this technology. Recently, LAVTA was notified by its current TSP vendor that it would no longer support the current system deployed beyond 2025. So now's the perfect time to explore other alternatives. Kimley Horn is our one of the agencies that, with on-call, our on-call engineering contractors. They have extensive experience working with Tri-Valley engineers. And we're the lead for LAVTA's most recent upgrade to their GPS TPS system. Their proposal is included in your packet. The budget is funded 100% by RM2 funds. The initial allocation of $388,000 for the design was approved by MTC in July of 2024. Based upon the proposed scope of work, Kimley Horn will provide the work for a firm fixed price of $352,640 with a standard 10% contingency. The total budget for this portion of the project would be $387,904. $377,904. May I answer any of you guys?
Any questions from the Josie,
I have one,
followed by Brown?
the, the funding, this is the funds that had originally been allocated to the, autonomous vehicle pilot that would have been lost had we not identified another, use for them, is that correct?
Correct,
If I
yes,
remember that properly.
yes.
And you said there was 20 buses now that had the old technology, that's not every bus we have, correct?
No, we have 60 buses in current service. Only the rapid style buses have this in place. That was an agreement we had with the three cities, was only to deploy this on our rapid lines.
And are we investigating changing that at all?
Definitely.
So will this be for all of our buses?
If I could jump in, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So the current plan is to just to not change our footprint. To just keep the same 67 intersections and upgrade to the cloud-based TSP system, which is amazing. I demoed it at Samtrans. It's phenomenal. We are very interested in expanding our TSP footprint in the Tri-Valley. The great thing about the cloud-based system is once the buses are connected with the right ping rate, which we have a project that will actually be advancing later this year to buy Cradle Point routers on all the buses so that we can get them ready for the TSP. It's also better for real-time tracking and, and whatnot. But once we get the buses ready, then all we need is the city approval to expand into more intersections.
Okay, but my question was, with this project, is it still just 20 buses, or are we able to put all this onto all of our buses so that it doesn't really matter which bus we deploy? It has to be those specific 20 buses.
This project will likely just replace on the current fleet, but we are also independently of this project, getting the entire fleet ready to be able to have cloud-based TSP.
Okay, but that would be an additional cost.
Yes, it's already in your budget, yes.
Director Brown.
Is there any cross-training of bus drivers that needs to take place? And is that in the past?
No, there is no cross training. There's nothing for the drivers to do. It's automatic.
Do you see any, do you see any accidents? Because when I see those lights flip quickly, whether it's an emergency vehicle or a bus, it happens, you're sitting at a light and all of a sudden it's red. And you kind of wonder why. So do you see any accident incidences that are elevated because of a rapid transfer?
Well, I think I may have confused you. There's two different TSPs. There's transit signal priority, which is granted to transit vehicles, buses. Then there's transit vehicle preemption, which is granted to emergency vehicles. Those are that can change any light red and give the emergency vehicles a green light immediately. We don't have that capability. All we can do is extend the green a little bit and request an early red.
Oh, I'm glad you explained that. So if instead of coming up and it would have switched, it's going to stay green longer.
Correct. It's
Okay.
typically 3 to 5 seconds long.
I'm glad you were making that now noise that you've been on the board as long as I haven't know it either. So good. Yeah, good. Thank you for the education. Okay. And
Oh, I knew the answer. I was just.
yeah, like, don't you know that? Okay.
The part about emergency vehicles, I did not. know
Yeah.
that.
I think it's just fire trucks too.
It's,
Police.
they call them guns and
Ambulance.
hoses.
Yeah.
Police and fire,
Okay.
yes. It doesn't apply to, like ambulances do not have.
So if you're having a heart attack, too bad you wait in line,
That's why you see them driving on the wrong
That's
side
why,
of the
yeah, they
road.
don't turn on their lights and.
Yeah,
even with their lights on.
Mhm.
yes, they, well, I don't know the politics of it, but I do know it's only the emergency.
I'll get out of the way for an emergency
Mhm.
vehicle. Okay, so no training of drivers are needed. And that you're not seeing any changes in incidents for accidents because it's just extending the green longer. Thank you. All right, and then the last question is there any additional expenses for cities as you switch to the new program?
Not to my knowledge, the equipment that's in the intersections will remain the same.
Mhm.
If we do end up upgrading it, it usually benefits the cities
Mhm.
because it's upgrading their equipment to the latest greatest and they can use it and it'll benefit them in the long run.
We will learn though what is actually required once we complete the design task order. So if there is additional upgrades that are required, we can look to the grant to pay for that.
And because you certainly, if we're gonna upgrade for bus TSP, I don't want to in any way affect the guns and hoses. Or anyone with the boxing bag, an ambulance, anything like that, would be, needed for other uses. So, okay, thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Aaron, any questions?
No, just I would say I'm really impressed with how quickly you turned this around for, thinking of, we were going one direction, it's been, what, 6 months, and now you already have the proposal to us, so I'm just very impressed with the speed in which you got this going, and I'm excited for it to happen.
So question I have is, this is just the design
Yeah.
work. What is it gonna cost to install?
Well, I do have. We still have RM2 funding to install up to 2.3 million from the remainder of the.
How much is that per bus?
That actually wouldn't be mostly on the bus, that would be for the infrastructure and the streets, if I'm not.
And this is so we're buying a subscription, basically. We're getting a license to the software and what we want to do is buy it for 10 years and use the RM2 money to pay for that.
So 2.3 million for 10-year subscription.
Yes, yeah, and that covers a number of intersections,
And the number of buses.
correct.
And all the other bus companies have this?
DTA in San Jose has cloud-based. Contra Costa Transportation Authority just is in the process of deploying cloud-based on particular arterials. AC Transit, I think, is piloting some of this. So this is the latest and greatest. It's really great technology. And what's wonderful is you get so much more data from the system. We actually don't know how much preemption we get from our current system. In order to determine that, we have to hire someone to go out to the cabinet at the intersection and pull a card out and actually analyze the data that way. The cloud-based is much more user-friendly. You get real-time analytics. At Samtrans, we demoed one vendor for 3 months, and we saw a 94% reduction in dwell time at a left turn, which is pretty phenomenal. So I think the benefits can really stack up. And once we have benefits, then we can use those benefits to go after more funding, more grant funding.
We can get a periodic update on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, it looks like.
One more question?
Sure.
The staff report, talks about this being a recommendation from the Finance and Administration Committee. Was that intended to go to finance?
Yeah, this is a project. Let's go here. Yeah, so that's a typo.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
You need a motion and a vote?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that this agenda item be forwarded with corrections to the Board of Directors for a final decision.
Brown moves, Branding seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See it at the full board meeting. August, item 6, the August 2024 service.
Thank you. This is an info item. Mike Tobin, our Director of
David.
Operations, will be presenting to you. Do you want to stand or sit?
I will stand,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Okay, we want to give you an update on how things are going with our service change that was implemented
Yeah, so talking about the future of our bus service, now bringing it back to the present. So good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'd like to provide you all with a brief update on our most recent service change that went into effect earlier this month, as well as the start of our supplemental school service this year, our favorite time of the year. So just some background, the service change went into effect on Saturday, August 10th. For our mainline routes, including our local express and rapid routes, this included just making some minor tweaks to the schedules to accommodate the new BART schedule that went into effect on Monday, August 12th. So everything essentially shifted 3 minutes earlier for our mainline route. So not a huge change there, but a change nonetheless. For our school routes, we introduced the new Route 201, which now services the newly opened Emerald High School. For this route, we reassigned or drained 3 buses per day from Dublin to Emerald, 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. And this was an educated guess that actually worked out perfectly based on modal share. And so we're seeing some pretty good demand at them and demand lessening at Dublin. So it's very, very good educated guess part of our plan. Other changes for our school service. So for our Routes 500 series that service Dublin High School, we made some minor adjustments as well. For our Route 602 and 604, which service Wakefield High School in Pleasanton, just made some minor adjustments to better align with the new school buildings. Of course, we also have our Tri-Transit to School promotion, which runs through the end of the month. As in years past, this has caused some pretty heavy passenger loads. And this year we had a particularly robust marketing campaign where we targeted social media, Snapchat, TikTok, thank you, David Mark. And so we've gotten a lot of heavy passenger loads, particularly on our Pleasanton routes and particularly in the. This is nothing new. We've seen this in years past, and normally the heavy passenger loads will normalize once Tri-Transit ends, so maybe the first, second week of September. But this year we did see some heavy passenger loads. And so what have we done to mitigate this? So we've managed or we've monitored passenger loads on all the routes on a daily basis. So our bus operators are actually counting the number of boardings. And then operations and staff and I will sit down and monitor and see where we can direct extra resources where necessary. So we've been deploying about 3 buses, or what I call overflow buses, on 3 routes in Pleasanton. But at this point, we are completely tapped out in terms of manpower, in terms of vehicles. So not much we can do. We just kind of have to wait until things start to work. That concludes my update, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Brown
Can
and
we,
Josie.
thank you. Can we have some general questions about route changes? Thank you. We've got the ice cream route modifications, and I have quite a few complaints coming in that where the 10R used to go right down First Street. Can't do that anymore. I have folks that are somewhat ambulatory, not great walkers, being asked to walk many large blocks to catch the bus on Old Stanley, and that's simply not acceptable. Could you, I know Chrissy and I did a little bit of an exchange, but share with the Projects and Services Committee as well as long-term plans and some of the challenges, and if this subcommittee agrees about there should be some pushback. It's lovely to have a very busy ice cream parlor, but not at the loss of service to our critical need riders. So could you comment?
Sure, I can start.
Yes.
The dairy, yes. And so.
We have new little ice cream cones on the right.
I feel not expected. Thank you, Mayor Brown, for your support. This has been a challenging situation for us because this is a very high ridership stop. So the issue is the dairy is very popular and it wreaks havoc in downtown Pleasanton. I guess it's become more popular over the years. And so in an effort to be a good partner and to really help mitigate some of the traffic congestion in downtown, we did a detour beginning early June, I think first, end of school, start of summer. And our detour, the first detour was relatively simple. The bus didn't make that right on Neal Street. It kept going down on First and then made a right on Old Burnell. Burnell to Old
Burnell.
Yeah, made a right on Burnell and then a right on Old Burnell. And it was only the westbound direction that we had to detour. This allowed the dairy and the city to put up cones. So the
Not
cars,
ice cream cones.
not ice cream cones, orange street cones so that the cars could queue up in a nice orderly line to the dairy. The queue line blocks our bus stop, so we wouldn't, if there's a line of cars, we wouldn't be able to serve our bus stop, so we said, let's just detour straight. There's a bus stop right there on First Street. It's the Route 8 bus stop, so passengers did not have a very long walk. We had on-time performance issues with that extension because it was adding more running time. And what we learned was when school began on August 8th in Pleasanton, that the bus could no longer make the right from Bernal to Old Bernal because the city had to reopen a left turn lane that they had shut down, so our bus could make that right without possibly hitting another vehicle. I think we've had an incident at that intersection or close by. So it was definitely a partnership. The city was great. And then we needed to determine what are we going to do after school starts when that bus can't make that right. One option was to go all the way down to the Pleasanton, to the fairgrounds by the A station, and that just would have added too much time for this route. And then it becomes not rapid. And people are missing their connection at BART because we're only running every 20 minutes. So that wasn't an option. And we looked at different side streets and it's just too narrow. Our buses are 40-foot long. So we opted to do our first weekends on Main detour, which is First Street to Old Stanley, back up to Santa Rita. So this is a detour that we use every summer when we can't get into downtown Pleasanton. We understood it would be a challenge for riders. It's about a 0.7 mile distance between the closest stop on the 10R with the detour to the shutdown stop on Neal Street. So we agreed with the city to do this full detour on the westbound direction only for the month of August. And that we would reassess near the end of the month, once we knew what the weather outlook was, once we saw what the queue lines, the dairy traffic lines were. So I've been pushing the city for a week to have a meeting with us to talk about what we're doing. We received a complaint from Herb related to not having a way to get home from concert in the park, which is, he was right. He had to take an Uber home because he wasn't aware that we did a new detour on the 10R. We did have signs posted and we did have a rider alert, but not everyone's checking our website. So
Another person, this is Sue.
there's recently,
Yeah. So it wasn't just one person. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Too much for one person.
yeah. Well, I think Herb brought up a good point, and we were able to mitigate Herb and likely other complaints by we're running one additional late night trip on Route 8, one last Friday, just to cover anyone going to concert in the park who wants to get back to park. So we've mitigated that. So I was pushing, so what the city shared with us I think it was in July, or everything's kind of mushing together in my mind. But the city was open to allowing us to resume normal routing, possibly Monday through Thursday, and then determining what kind of dairy queue line they needed to, mitigate for or create Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we were thinking, okay, we might have a detour starting Friday morning, going all the way through the end of service on Sunday. We just heard from the city staff today, and their proposal is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, detouring from 3 to 9 p.m. So we would have normal routing up until 3 o'clock, and then again, late night. I scheduled a meeting with the team tomorrow to talk about this. There are pros and cons of this. It's a little bit more confusing. It does restore service, but it will be confusing for our drivers. And it will likely be confusing for our passengers. And did I miss anything?
Yeah, you got it.
So I told city staff that we'll meet internally. My inclination is to try the detour with the 3 to 9 p.m. just the first weekend and see if we generate complaints or any issues from our operators. Still trying to be a good partner to the city. So I think that's the update.
I have a question. It sounds like, I have a vague idea of where this is, but not being a Pleasanton resident, it sounds like there's two issues. One is we can't get to the bus stop with the queuing. But the other issue is the queuing itself causes traffic jams
Yeah.
and it makes it a time for the bus to get through. This is a very popular business to Pleasanton. It generates quite a bit of, I'm sure, tax revenue for the city of Pleasanton, but also a gathering place, et cetera. If there was a way for us to just move the bus stop, so that it's not blocked by the queue, is there a way for the bus to get around all that traffic?
No, the bus it can't make a ride on Neil, because that's where the queue is, and Mike, please just jump in if I'm saying anything incorrectly. We can't do the old detour because.
I'm not asking for us to detour. I'm asking, is there a way for us, like, is it right on a turn or something, or can we go into the other lane and go past the queue of traffic?
I think it's one lane. It's one lane in each direction, so there is no.
But is there a way for mitigation to be, for example, that the dairy needs to hire a crossing guard, for lack of a better word, to allow the bus to go around the queue? Again, asking the city, I'm trying to think outside the box here, because detouring the bus significantly at multiple times with different detours is just very, very confusing for the residents that live there. Also, if the bus can serve a bus stop that is right near the dairy, we can encourage people to actually take the bus to the dairy, and not, have so many cars stacked up there. There might be better ways to think outside the box instead of just the solution being to detour the buses. There may be ways to have Pleasanton partner with us in additional mitigation measures. So I would hope that the invested parties can maybe look at some of those options as well.
Thank you. I will bring that back to the group. We did suggest looking at a different queue line on Railroad, which is parallel to First Street, and the staff said that they, their residents along that stretch of road, but I still think that could be a viable option.
Yeah,
It wouldn't affect us at all, and then we could serve our bus stop.
Yeah.
The queue would be off of Neil, off of First.
Right. And I know the city of Pleasanton certainly has some experience with this with their in and out. They had to figure out how to better queue the traffic to keep it from blocking intersections and things like that. And so, I would hope that.
The Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, that's what it was.
In
Chick-fil-A.
and out.
Sorry, I was thinking in my head Chick-fil-A when I said in and out, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
And you put another chicken fence right next to it, so. They love chicken.
anyway,
Thank you.
that would be my hope, that we could continue to find a way to run the bus right down our normal route.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think, the dairy's become more popular, or at least the traffic has become worse. It seems the three of us see that intersection a lot.
Yeah,
True. I go around almost all the time anyways, because there's an easy way around downtown for me, but it's pretty backed up. It seems to have gotten more popular over the years. And so I think we're kind of at the end of their season for when the queues are there. The weather seems to be getting less hot, maybe. Today's not a great indicator of that. But I think it's really about, the main thing would be about planning for next year. I think this year, so things like moving the stop or redirecting where they queue. But I think at this point, the way they've been queuing for years and years and years and years is just not working anymore, because it really does back up the entire First Street now. It's kind of a mess,
Yeah.
so.
I'm glad they found a solution.
Yeah, it's called wheels, you just go.
You go somewhere
wee
else.
around.
As painful as it is.
So thank you for the ideas. I think this is terrific. There were some that I had not thought of, maybe you had. Yeah, they are ranked a top 10 ice cream, one of the top 10 ice creams in the country. And so that just, well, they started new flavors and new
Yeah.
combinations, and all of a sudden it got real popular. So then it began to grow beyond. During the summer months, they have high school students just working there in mass. Now those high school students are working there because they're in school. So I know it's gonna slow down the response time. So there was discussion, I was told that they're looking at queuing, like you go park over here and walk with your little feet over here to get your ice cream. So that was one option the city was looking at. But I really like two things I heard today, which is a potential stop after the dairy. There is a kind of a business building, just a little further down from the dairy. So instead of stopping right at the flagpole, which is where they stop now, go past the dairy, could you, because the queuing line is that parking road. So there's still a road and you can still make that turn because it's a big bus, but go just a little further and then put signage, that the stop is just a block that
That's a
way,
good
or
idea.
half a block that way. That was Jean's idea. I appreciate that one. And
She
then,
was thinking back it up and
Well,
go.
no, I don't care what direction, just move the stop one way or another, but it's a lot shorter to walk to a stop that's, you know, one business either direction.
0.7 miles is a
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah,
And so look at that for the, after the dairy stop, and then even at bus stop on Railroad, if you go parallel to First Street.
Mhm.
And then turn right on,
We can't make that right turn from Railroad onto Neal, but what I'm liking, if we are able to make the right from First onto Neal,
Mhm.
if we get a crossing guard or get some type of someone out there to blow a whistle, you know, just to, so, because right now, if the queue goes all the way up Neal and all the way up First. If we can make that right on Neal, I think if we have to go check to make sure there's enough space in the roadway, we might be able to bypass the line if they're in our bus stop. And we could put a temporary stop.
Yeah.
There's actually 2 other stops in downtown that we're missing just because we can't get to them, so.
It's real inconvenience, and, you know, I definitely, like everybody here, appreciate or supporting the downtown business. And all that they have to offer, all the delicious things they have to offer, but we also have to do business with our other organizations, and this one. Wasn't just the evening bus, but to see riders stranded because I'm here, I'm on time, and where's the bus? Some of our riders aren't as good at changes. I would be one of those, so I was here last week and it came. I don't understand why it's not here this week. Even when you were referring to running a route 3 minutes earlier, I would have missed my bus 3 minutes earlier. So, okay, thanks for the brainstorming on that, and I appreciate the feedback. Good news about the bus service, and I didn't hear anything negative about
Okay.
Pleasanton. So I assume that Pleasanton, I know you hit on Dublin and the new, great, beautiful high school. But in terms of Pleasanton ridership, you're able to capture everybody, no students left behind kind of policy.
So as I mentioned, we've deployed some overflow buses
Mhm.
to beat our routes where we're seeing very high passenger loads. So at this point, we've not left anyone behind. We've dispatched, I think, do you remember what routes it was? 602, 604,
the 610.
610. We've deployed a third bus on top of the other buses, correct? To accommodate the extra passenger load. So
And you think that's probably just this peak at the beginning of the school
That's-
year?
If,
based on past
Free
years,
rides.
that'd be my guess.
and if not, then we'll have to look at where we can deploy additional resources. We don't want to have an unsafe situation out there.
No, and you're in the month, end of August, then.
Correct,
So
yeah.
you're coming towards the end. Okay, thank you for the
They're still
report.
standing in aisles and
Yes,
sitting on
yes.
top of each other.
They're very packed right now. It really does, in my opinion, call into question the value of tri-transit to school. Because I think the kids don't have a great experience. They might ride for free, but they are in there like, you know, as tight as we can get them and safely, but I just, you know,
Especially with the youth ride free program.
yeah.
During the summer, so, yeah, we try and keep it safe, but unfortunately with just the load, we don't wanna leave any students behind.
Yeah.
No more surplus buses we could push out.
We don't have operators. I mean, Regina, as our general manager, she was dispatching. We had every supervisor. We have fewer operators now than we did a year ago.
Hey, Jean knows how to drive a bus.
We gotta teach you.
I drove the bus.
Put me in a bus.
She's the one with the award winner. I know her.
Sure,
Yeah.
I can make right-hand turns, no problem.
There is an option, I mean, we could have the bus complete its route and then come back to the school to pick up, but then the students would have to wait up to an hour on certain days, in which case
And they
they'll
won't
probably
waste
just find another way home.
Right, they will make that.
Yeah, so.
I was thinking morning.
And we all stand up and ride the bus when we're going to the airport.
And it's not a very long route. It's just,
Got
it is their full and
I know, we have great drivers, so we're gonna.
We do,
We're
we
gonna
do.
be doing well. Okay.
Oh, that's information item only. I should ask more questions, please.
Ask mine, you said Brandon and Josie.
I did, right.
I just had some questions about the school routes again. What amount of ridership are we seeing at Emerald currently? We know that it's been overflow in Pleasanton. Are we seeing,
We're seeing 40 to 60
okay,
for
both
both
more,
buses in the PM. In the morning, it's a little lower.
okay,
Demand's about 35.
okay, that doesn't surprise me. And then, in the afternoon, well, in both morning on the on-time percentages, going to Dublin High, and then in the afternoon, the load percentages. With Emerald being open, are we seeing less traffic on the buses getting to Dublin High in the mornings? Are we having a better time getting there? First week notwithstanding, but the second week and then maybe today, is that shaking out a little bit easier?
I've not been out there, but I don't think traffic has improved really at all.
Has not improved.
At Dublin, or what are you?
We're running early.
Yeah, we're running earlier, so it's not,
So we're not hitting-
it's not like how it was last year,
Okay,
we're running like 20 minutes earlier.
20 minutes early? Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, we haven't
And,
arrived.
and we've still been a little bit late.
And fewer buses, because
Well, late according to our schedule, but not late getting.
Yeah, we have been a little late.
Okay,
no teacher complaints of students coming in.
No.
You hear it first.
well, I'm here in a second probably, but, and then in the afternoons, we're seeing, what kind of loading on the buses that we are still running. I mean, we only swept a couple in the afternoon, right?
The 501s, they're not as full as they were before, but we're getting, and we cut one of the routes.
Right.
And then the 502s, they're still pretty full.
Still pretty full.
And the 503 is really full from,
Yeah,
and that's at the
doesn't
junior,
surprise me.
yeah, it's very, very full.
The 503 has doubled.
Yeah,
Well, we used to have about 35
Uh-huh,
students, now we're running about 65.
that doesn't surprise me.
that's from the junior high though, right? It's not just from the high school, it's from the junior high, because it does, the 503 does 2 trips.
Just
Right.
looking at Friday afternoon, we have 53 on one bus, 38 on one bus, and 54 on one bus,
On the
the 501.
501s. And then are we still running a late bus?
Yes,
And are we getting any riders on that late bus?
very cool.
Yeah, only a couple.
Okay.
We are seeing students. I met Alex, by the way. He's great. He rides the Route 4 to
Yes,
the
he does.
new restored service, yeah.
Yeah. I suspect that on Mondays you won't get a lot on the Route 4, but the rest of the week you'll get a lot on the Route 4. Is that what we're seeing? Or not?
We haven't looked, there were
We can
2
look at
for
that.
sure in the afternoon, taking that for.
Okay. Yeah, I meant in the mornings. On the
Oh,
Route
yeah.
4. Yeah, Mondays you won't see very many on the Route 4, but then on the rest of the days you'll see some. Okay. Good, thank you.
Any public comment on item 6? Seeing none, we'll move to item 7. We got that on item 5.
Chair, you have a hand raised.
Was it
I'll use it.
5?
Zoom room.
No, I'll use it for matters initiated. It was actually for a future meeting anyways,
okay.
so.
Question on 6?
Well, thank you, Mike.
We'll move to item 7, upcoming projects and services committee agenda.
Well, I promised to fill in your agendas here, but for sure, well, not quite for sure, but we are working on getting the contract award for the Cradle Point routers, which we spoke about earlier today, as it relates to the cloud-based TSP. And I'm probably bringing a strategic plan update to you because that is going to be kicking off here. And in October, and this may shift, we're looking at workload and whatnot, but you may recall that our service to Emerald High is pilot. This year, we do have to go through our public hearing process because it does, moving the buses out of Dublin High triggers a major service change. We have 6 months from the start of service to complete that public hearing and that public input process. So we're going to continue to do our analysis, but we could be bringing you a recommendation in October for your approval on the permanent service levels. And then we'll be working on our 2025 marketing plan and be presenting that to you in October. And hopefully bringing you a Wheels Access contract award, which is our mobility management. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Questions? Any matters public comment? Item 8, matters initiated by Keith.
Yeah. I was just talking about all this, was hoping, at a future meeting, could we get an update, on the service changes and how they've affected, the broader.
Yes. Yes, I have that plugged in for November, your fixed route ridership report, which would present 6 months of post Wheels in Motion on operating data. Absolutely. Perfect. If that works for you.
Seeing no other items before us, we are adjourned. No, I don't. You're gonna have to